This is not a book about clutter. This is a book about clarity. About the invisible weight that sits on your chest when you walk through your front door. About the silent anxiety in the background of your daily life. About the way your home has become less of a sanctuary and more of a storage unit. About how you keep everything just in case but never feel peace right now. We do not just collect things. We collect memories. We collect guilt. We collect broken dreams in the shape of dusty furniture. We collect fear of letting go, disguised as sentimentality. And slowly, without realizing it, we build shrines to the past in the very place meant to hold our future. You are not tired because your life is too full. You are tired because your life is too noisy. And nowhere is that noise more quietly powerful than in your own home. Walk through the rooms you know so well. Feel the weight of the later pile. The drawer that never closes. The corner that gathers more than it gives. The shelf full of unopened things you told yourself you would use one day, but one day never came. This book is not here to make you minimalist. It is here to make you free. Because the things that take up space around you are not just objects. They are agreements. Agreements to stay stuck. Agreements to stay overwhelmed. Agreements to live one step behind peace. But here is the truth: your home is not meant to be a museum of what was. It is meant to be an altar to what is possible. And to create that possibility, you must eliminate what no longer serves you. Immediately. Not when you have time. Not when you feel ready. No. Because every single object you allow to remain that drains your energy is a silent thief of your potential. You cannot rise while surrounded by reminders of who you no longer are. So in these pages we will identify 5 powerful categories. Not things but energies. Not clutter but anchors. And as you release them, you will feel something extraordinary. Your future returning to you. Not because of what you added, but because of what you finally let go of. This is a cleansing. Not just of your space but of your soul. And if you commit to it, room by room, breath by breath, decision by decision, you will find yourself living in a home that does not drain you, distract you, or delay you. You will live in a home that pulls you forward. Because you are no longer keeping anything that holds you back. Let us begin. Chapter 1. The storage of someday, releasing what you are no longer waiting for. Walk through your home with honest eyes and you will find it. The box in the closet. The hobby you never started. The treadmill turned clothes rack. The fabric for a project you have not touched in 5 years. The language books you never opened. The business tools you never used. All waiting for someday. But here is the quiet truth: someday is not coming. Not because you are lazy. Not because you do not care. But because you are not that person anymore. And every time you walk past those things, every time you glance at them, a small signal fires in your brain: you failed. You forgot. You should get back to that. That is not motivation. That is emotional debt. And your nervous system is carrying it every single day. This is not about judgment. This is about liberation. Because the longer you hold on to things you no longer have energy for, the more you scatter your focus, the more you dilute your presence, the more you anchor yourself to a version of you that has already outgrown this season. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to release the dream that belonged to a different version of you. You are allowed to clear the shelf without guilt. Because you are not throwing away potential. You are making space for who you are now. That is the shift. From storage to sanctuary. From guilt to grace. From holding on just in case to releasing because I know. I once sat with a woman who kept every piece of craft supply she had bought in her 20s. She was 40-5. She had not touched any of it in years. She said, maybe I'll go back to it. I used to love it. I asked, do you love it now? She was quiet. Then she cried. No. But I feel like I should. That word should is the chain. And your home is full of it. Boxes of should. Drawers of maybe. Closets of someday. But peace is not born in pressure. It is born in truth. And the truth is, when you let go of what no longer belongs, you do not lose anything. You return to yourself. So walk through your home today, not with fear, but with fire. And ask, am I keeping this out of guilt? Am I holding on to this because of who I used to be? Is this item an anchor or an engine? Does this reflect the life I am building now? And if it does not, bless it. Thank it. Then release it. Let it leave your space so that clarity can return. Let it leave your space so that you stop apologizing to your future for what your past collected. Let it leave your space so that when you walk into your home, you are not walking into a warehouse of false hopes but into a cathedral of now. This is your space. This is your season. And your soul cannot stretch in rooms filled with dead energy. Clear it. Clear it now. Chapter 2. The weight of what minus if letting go of fear minus based storage. It starts quietly. A broken blender. An extra phone charger. Old light bulbs. Dried minus up pens. Half minus used notebooks. Expired coupons. Tangled cords you no longer recognize. You tell yourself you might need it one day. And so it stays. In drawers. In corners. In baskets under beds. And slowly, room by room, shelf by shelf, your home becomes not a place of rest, but a warehouse for what minus if. What if I lose this? What if I need it later? What if I regret it? What if I cannot afford to replace it? What if? This is how fear becomes furniture. And if you do not interrupt it, fear will build a home inside your home. You will start to walk differently through your space. Carefully. Cautiously. Carrying the weight of potential emergencies instead of breathing into your present reality. But what if that fear is lying? What if you are not keeping things out of wisdom, but out of woundedness? What if the real reason you are afraid to throw something away is because somewhere in your past, you learned that there would never be enough? Not enough money. Not enough stability. Not enough safety. And so your body learned to hold on to everything. Even things that are broken. Even things you no longer love. Even things that do not work anymore. Because if you let go, what if you never got another? But here is the deeper truth. Scarcity ends when stewardship begins. And stewardship means you only hold what is useful now, life minus giving now or aligned now. Not someday. Not maybe. No. Because you cannot live a present, abundant life in a space designed by past scarcity. I once sat in a kitchen with a man who had over 60 mugs. Not collected, just accumulated. He used 3. I asked why he kept the rest. He shrugged. They still work. So do hundreds of things in your house that do not work for your life anymore. Function is not the same as alignment. Just because something technically works does not mean it belongs in your home. It must serve your current season or it is stealing energy. Every drawer packed with what minus if items is costing you clarity. Every closet filled with I might use this is blocking your breath. You do not need backup items for a crisis that might never come. What you need is space. Space to think. Space to move. Space to create a future not built on the nervous system of your past. So here is the shift. From fear to faith. From hoarding for later to trusting for now. From guarding your space with panic to guiding your space with presence. Look around. Find one drawer. One shelf. One box. And ask, is this here because I love it? Is this here because I use it? Or is this here because I am afraid to let it go? If fear is the only answer, release it. Release it not just from the shelf, but from your system. Let the fear leave with the item. Say out loud, I trust that what I truly need will always find its way to me again. And then watch what happens to your energy. You will feel lighter. Not just physically, but emotionally. Because the less you store just in case, the more you live just in time. That is the life you were designed for. Not a fortress of backup plans, but a flow of trust. A home that is not stocked for disaster but cleared for destiny. This is not minimalism. This is liberation. Let it begin with the drawer. Then let it ripple into your future. Chapter 3. The energy of guilt, releasing objects that shame you into staying small. There are things in your home that carry shame like a scent. Things that do not just take up space, they steal your self-respect. Not because of what they are, but because of what they remind you of. The clothes that no longer fit. The expensive kitchen gadget you never used. The books you bought to impress. The equipment for a hobby you abandoned. The treadmill that now holds your regret. And every time you walk past these things, they whisper, you are not who you said you would be. You wasted money. You should be more disciplined. You should be further along. That is not inspiration. That is internal sabotage, disguised as sentiment. And if you want to reclaim your space, your clarity, your life, you must eliminate anything in your home that turns your past into a prison. Because guilt is not a growth tool. It is a stalling mechanism. It keeps you stuck rehearsing the version of yourself you were trying to escape when you started this journey in the first place. Let us be honest. Some things are not just clutter. They are contracts. Agreements you made in a different season with a different self. Agreements you no longer want to keep, but have been too afraid or too ashamed to break. The closet full of clothes from a body you no longer live in. That is a contract with your past shame. The bookcase full of self-help titles you never finished. That is a contract with the belief that you are always almost better. The gift you kept even though you hate it. That is a contract with the part of you that still lives for other people's approval. But you are not obligated to hold what no longer holds you. You are allowed to choose freedom even if it means letting go of something expensive, something gifted, something symbolic. Because no object is more valuable than your peace. I once worked with a woman who had a dress in her closet from 10 years ago. A dress she wore before her body changed. She would not let it go. One day I'll fit back into it, she said. But every time she saw it, she felt failure. Every time she reached for something else, it loomed behind her like a judgment. I asked her, what would it feel like to bless that version of you and release her? She wept. And then she let it go. And in its place, she bought a new dress. One that fit her now. Not just her body but her spirit. That is what happens when you release objects that carry guilt. You make space for grace. You begin dressing your current body instead of punishing it. You begin investing in who you are now instead of grieving who you are not. You begin speaking to yourself like a friend, not a failure. So walk through your home. Open the closets. Touch the boxes. Look at what you are storing on desk. Does this item call me forward? Or does it pull me down? Do I feel peace when I see it? Or pressure? Is this a symbol of freedom? Or a symbol of who I thought I had to be? And if the answer is guilt, you know what to do. Release it. Not out of anger. Out of honor. Honor the person you were when you bought it, needed it, received it. Then thank it for its season and let it go. Because your home is not meant to reflect your shame. It is meant to reflect your standards. And when your home reflects your standards, your self-respect rises to match it. That is how you shift. Not through force. Through forgiveness. Forgive yourself for the wasted money. Forgive yourself for the abandoned idea. Forgive yourself for the delay. Then start again lighter, clearer, cleaner. Because the energy of guilt has no place in a space where your next level is being born. Release it now. And return home to yourself. Chapter 4. The clutter of comparison, removing the imitations of a life that is not yours. Your home should tell your story, not someone else's. But for too many of us, our homes have become performance stages, curated collages of what we think life should look like. We fill our shelves with books we do not read. We buy decor we do not love. We chase aesthetics we saw online, not because they speak to us, but because they speak for us to the world, to the audience, to the imaginary eyes we believe are watching. But comparison is the thief not only of joy, it is the thief of authenticity. And when comparison enters your home, it distorts your truth. You no longer see your space for what it is, you see it through the lens of who you are trying to impress. The candles are not for peace, they are for Instagram. The furniture is not for comfort, it is for status. The colors, the frames, the style, they are not you. They are borrowed identities. And no matter how beautiful, if your home does not reflect you, it will never feel like home. It will feel like a set. A stage. A showroom for a life you are not actually living. So the question becomes, what are you keeping in your home because someone else said it mattered? What things are there not because they serve your spirit, but because they serve your image? What items feel like costume pieces in a play you are no longer performing? This is not about minimalism. This is about ownership. Ownership of your style, your rhythm, your comfort, your priorities, your peace. Because your home should be a mirror of your values, not your vanity. And when you strip away the layers of comparison, what remains is something irreplaceable: honesty. Honesty in texture. Honesty in space. Honesty in the way the light falls on a table that holds your favorite book, not a sculpture you never touch. That is sacred. And you do not need permission to build it. You just need the courage to let go of anything that does not belong to your story. I remember walking into a client's home stunning by every standard. Modern. Elegant. Tastefully styled. But she looked exhausted. "It's beautiful," I said. She nodded. "But I don't know who I built it for." That sentence sat heavy. I don't know who I built it for. She had created a space that impressed everyone except the one person who lived there. And the real work began not with rearranging, but with reclaiming. We walked room by room, and she began saying no. No to the art she never liked. No to the couch that looked perfect but never felt like rest. No to the kitchen tools she never used but kept because they were part of the image. And in their place, books she loved. Colors that made her body relax. textures that reminded her of childhood. Photographs of people who made her laugh, not look sophisticated. Within weeks, her home softened. And so did she. Not because she removed things. Because she removed pretense. That is the work. Eliminate what reflects the life you were trying to impress others with and replace it with what reflects you. Not the filtered version. The real one. The one who reads poetry but hides it. The one who loves plants but thought they were too messy. The one who likes bright colors but was told neutral was elegant. Give that version of you the microphone. Let her design the space. Let her fill the walls, choose the blankets, pick the mugs. Because when your space reflects your soul, your nervous system relaxes into itself. And you stop living like a guest in your own home. You come back. You return. Not to the fantasy of who you thought you had to be, but to the rhythm of who you actually are. Comparison has no place here. Strip it. Sweep it out like dust. And make room for a home that whispers not "look at me" but "welcome back." Chapter 5. The dust of delay clearing the things you have been avoiding. Walk through your home and you will find them. Unopened mail. Stacks of unread books. That one drawer with batteries, receipts, cables, and things you do not remember buying. The light bulb that burned out months ago. The pile of laundry you keep moving from one chair to another. None of these things seem dangerous. None of them are big enough to sound an alarm. But together, they create a heavy hum beneath your life. It is not chaos. It is stagnation. And it lives in every delayed decision. Because delay is not neutral, it is emotional. Every time you walk past what you are avoiding, your mind makes a note you are behind. And every time you ignore that note, your nervous system collects it like weight. You may not notice it, but your body does. It flinches a little when you enter the room. It tightens slightly when you look at the paper pile. Its eyes when you pretend you will get to it later. But later has already become never. And never has taken up residence. This is how inertia forms. Not in the dramatic collapse of order, but in the quiet, daily decision to put off what is already yours to handle. That is what must be eliminated now, not just physical clutter, but emotional avoidance. Because until you clear the things you keep saying later to, your life will always feel like it is on pause. You will be living in a state of low-grade dread. Not loud enough to break you, but persistent enough to keep you from ever feeling fully present. And presence is everything. Presence is what turns a house into a home. Presence is what makes you sit and enjoy a cup of coffee instead of pacing around it. Presence is what lets your nervous system rest. But you cannot be fully present in a space full of postponed decisions. You need to make space for now. That begins with closing the open loops. Small ones. The annoying ones. The ones that seem too small to matter. Because the small ones are the ones you walk past every day. They are the background weight you have normalized. And it is time to clear them. I once had a client who told me she could not focus in her home office. We looked around, it was clean. But in the corner was a stack of unsorted papers. I asked how long they had been there. 3 years, she said. Why haven't you dealt with them? I do not even know what is in them anymore. It just feels too late. Too late. That is the lie of delay. The belief that because something has been neglected, it must remain untouched. But the truth? It is never too late to close the loop. We sat together. She opened the stack. Most of it was irrelevant. Some of it needed shredding. Some of it brought tears. But within an hour, it was done. And the next day, she wrote in that space for the first time in months. Why? Not because she added anything. Because she finally removed what she was pretending not to see. This is your invitation. Not to do everything. Just to start with what you have been avoiding the longest. Ask yourself, what is left unfinished in this room? What pile, project, or object has become invisible from repetition? What item do I keep stepping over instead of dealing with? Then breathe. And decide. If it needs to go, release it. If it needs to be done, do it imperfectly, briefly, and without overthinking. Momentum is not born from motivation. It is born from movement. And every time you clear something you have delayed, your energy will rise not because the thing was big, but because the message was loud. I no longer tolerate avoidance. I live in alignment now. Your home will feel it. Your body will feel it. You will sit a little taller, breathe a little deeper, rest a little softer. Because you are no longer surrounded by ghosts of postponed responsibility. You are surrounded by presence. That is the reward for releasing delay. That is the space where clarity returns. That is your new home. Chapter 6. The silence of things left unspoken, removing what no longer reflects who you are. There are things in your home that do not belong, not because they are ugly or broken, but because they are no longer true. They were once reflections of who you were, who you loved, what you believed, and how you moved through the world. But you have changed. You are changing still. And while your mind has grown, your spirit expanded, your priorities evolved, your surroundings remain stuck in a version of you that has already gone quiet. The paintings on the wall you no longer resonate with. The books whose values you no longer believe. The furniture you inherited but never wanted. The art you hung to fill the space not because it stirred anything in you. The souvenirs from a past relationship you still carry just because. These things do not scream. They whisper. They whisper a version of you back into the present every time you glance their way. They tell you to stay loyal to an identity that no longer feels honest. They ask you to keep pretending that you still care about what you used to collect, that you still agree with what you used to read, that you still feel at home in the old shape of your life. But you do not. You do not feel at home in that version anymore. And that is not failure. That is growth. The deepest kind of clutter is not the kind that fills the drawer. It is the kind that quietly questions your evolution. It is the object that says, "Are you sure you have changed?" It is the memento that says, "This was the best you will ever be." It is the voice in your home that keeps speaking in a language you no longer speak. And if you want to be free, if you want your home to breathe with your current frequency, you must begin to listen for what no longer speaks for you. This is not about style. This is not about organization. This is soul work. This is about claiming your space as a mirror of your truth, not your timeline. And to do that, you must practice sacred subtraction. Not because the object is wrong, but because your alignment is rising. Start with one shelf, one wall, one surface, and ask, does this reflect who I am now? Does this feel like it belongs in the home of someone who honors their growth? Does this stir something alive in me? Or does it quietly pull me back into the safety of a past I have already outgrown? Do not argue with the answers. Trust your body. If your chest tightens, if your breath shortens, if your eyes glaze over when you touch the thing, let it go. You do not owe the past your space. You do not owe nostalgia your peace. You do not owe other people your home. This is your sacred square footage. And it deserves to be filled not with things that hold memories, but with things that support the memory you are creating now. Let go of the pictures if they hold pain. Let go of the souvenirs if they are tied to people you no longer speak to. Let go of the furniture that fits the room but not your soul. Let go of the colors, the objects, the symbols of old beliefs that no longer belong in your new way of being. I once sat in the living room of a man who had lost his marriage 5 years prior. He had kept everything the same. The photos, the art, even the arrangement of the cushions. He said it was for the kids. But the kids had stopped visiting. When I asked how he felt in that room, he was quiet. "It feels like I don't live here," he whispered. We walked through that room with honesty. Not with aggression. With reverence. We kept what felt alive. We released what kept echoing a story that it had already closed. Weeks later, he wrote me, "It finally feels like my home again." That is what happens when you remove what no longer reflects who you are. Your soul returns. Not in fireworks. In presence. In breath. In the way you exhale when you walk in the door and say, "Yes. This is mine. This is me. This is now." No apologies. No explanations. No performances. Just clarity. That is the reward for this kind of courage. Not a cleaner home, but a truer one. And in that truth, you will find a peace no amount of perfection ever gave you. Chapter 7. The echoes of others releasing what was never yours to hold. Some things in your home were never chosen, they were inherited. Not always in the literal sense, but emotionally, relationally, energetically. You did not buy them. You did not ask for them. You simply received them through guilt, through obligation, through culture, through family. And now, without ever consciously deciding, you live surrounded by pieces of other people's lives. Your grandmother's china that you never use. Your parents' furniture that does not match your taste. The wall art gifted to you by someone who never asked what you love. The stack of religious texts from a belief system you no longer belong to. The wedding gifts from a marriage that has since ended. These items may be beautiful. They may be expensive. They may even have stories. But if they do not carry your story, your peace, your present alignment, they do not belong. Because here is the truth no one teaches you. Inheritance is not the same as identity. You are allowed to honor where you come from without decorating your life with things that do not fit your soul. You are allowed to bless the givers without binding yourself to the gift. You are allowed to choose love without keeping the object. Because love is not held in plates. It is not in the vase. It is not in the shelf full of dusty heirlooms. Love is not a thing. Love is a connection. And it does not die when the item is released. If anything, it grows clearer. Because when you stop performing loyalty through possessions, you begin to embody it through presence. I once worked with a woman whose home was filled with things from her mother. Antique dishes. Heavy curtains. Boxes of journals. She kept them out of duty, not desire. She never touched them. But she could not let them go. "I feel I could be betraying her," she said. Or, I offered, you'd finally be telling her the truth. The truth was her mother's legacy was already in her voice. In her kindness. In the meals she cooked. In the laughter she passed on to her children. It was not in the china she never used. She cried. Then she gave the dishes to someone who loved them. And in that letting go, she finally made space to feel her mother again, not as weight, but as warmth. This is what your home is waiting for. Not to be a museum of obligation, but a sanctuary of honesty. So walk through your rooms slowly. Look for what you are holding because someone else wanted you to. Look for what you are keeping because you think it proves something. And ask, is this mine? Or was this given? Was this chosen? Or assigned? Does this reflect my current values or the expectations of someone else's voice? And if it does not belong, let it go. With reverence. With breath. With a blessing that says, I love you. I remember you. But I do not need to hold this to keep you with me. Because you are not here to preserve the past at the expense of your present. You are here to build something new. And that requires space free of ghost expectations, space untouched by performance, space rooted not in heritage, but in truth. Let the objects go. The love will remain. The memories will remain. The presence will finally return. And in that space, you will feel something sacred. Not emptiness, but permission. Permission to breathe. Permission to belong in your own home. Permission to create beauty that does not require permission. This is your home now. Let it speak your name. Chapter 8. Objects that hold emotional chaos, clearing the physical evidence of pain. There are items in your home that carry a charge. You know it the moment you see them. They spark something inside you, something unhealed, something unresolved, something that pulls you into the past before you can even take a full breath. Maybe it is a shirt from the worst year of your life. A photo that reminds you of someone who left. A letter you read over and over but never healed from. An item from the breakup. A gift from the person who betrayed you. A souvenir from the place where everything changed. You do not keep it because it helps you. You keep it because it hurts you in a way that feels familiar. And familiar pain, if not processed, becomes comfort. But comfort is not always clarity. And these items? They are not comforting you. They are reopening wounds in the background of your daily life. You wake up, walk past the thing, and your body tightens. You get dressed, reach for that jacket, and your mood shifts. You open a drawer, find that old photo, and suddenly the day feels heavy again. This is not memory. This is emotional chaos living in physical form. You must learn this truth. Your nervous system is scanning your home every day. It sees what your mind has learned to ignore, and it keeps score. You may not feel the item's impact in the moment, but the accumulation is real. And it manifests in tension, in fatigue, in mood, in resistance, in your inability to feel safe in your own space. So the next layer of elimination is this. Remove the physical evidence of pain you are no longer required to carry. This is not denial. This is not suppression. This is completion. Completion says, I have felt what I needed to feel. I have honored what I lived through. And now, I choose peace over the performance of suffering. You do not owe your pain a display case. You do not need to keep artifacts from the hardest chapters of your life to prove you survived. You survived. That is enough. And now it is time to let the evidence go. I remember standing in a client's bedroom as she opened a drawer filled with letters from an old relationship. It had ended years ago, but she had kept everything. Cards, photos, receipts. She said she never read them anymore. Then why do you keep them? I asked. I don't know, she whispered. Maybe it proves I was loved. Do you need proof? I asked. He was silent. Then tears. Then fire. She lit the letters and let them burn in her backyard. That night, she slept through the night for the first time in weeks. Because pain had been living in her drawer. And that drawer had been living in her. This is not about revenge. This is not about pretending nothing happened. This is about clearing the weight of what is no longer yours to carry. So go room by room. Find the evidence. The gift from the toxic ex. The dress you wore to the funeral. The journal full of pages written through gritted teeth. The object from the moment everything fell apart. And ask, do I feel safe when I touch this? Do I feel peace when I look at it? Is it a memory or a rate-riggering machine? Does it help me heal or does it help me hurt longer? If it does not offer healing, it does not deserve to stay. Let it go. Tear it. Burn it. Give it away. Bless it. But release it. Because your home is sacred ground. And there is no place in sacred ground for altars built to wounds. You are not broken. You are becoming. And your home should reflect that becoming. With items that hold peace. That hold power. That hold presence. Nothing more. Nothing less. Chapter 9. When too much is too loud, the hidden noise of excess. Clutter is not just mess. It is noise. Visual noise. Emotional noise. Decision fatigue in physical form. It crowds the room. It crowds your thoughts. It whispers when you are trying to focus. It distracts when you are trying to rest. And if you have ever sat in your home and felt overwhelmed for no reason, there is a reason. It is simply too much. Too many things to look at. Too many decisions to make. Too many maybe you'll need this. I should deal with that. I forgot I had this. And your brain? It is working overtime to process it all. Even when you are doing nothing. That is the tragedy of excess. It doesn't scream. It trips. A slow, steady leak on your energy. Until one day, you realize your home is no longer supporting you. It is silently exhausting you. You do not need more organization hacks. You need less to organize. You do not need a new storage system. You need freedom from the weight you keep storing. Because the truth is, every item in your home is something you are responsible for. To clean. To store. To dust. To manage. And if your energy is low, your focus scattered, your patience thin, it may not be your fault. It may be the volume of everything around you. Excess is not abundance. It is noise disguised as security. And in a world that glorifies accumulation, it takes courage to say this is enough. I once worked with a man who had 4 sets of everything: towels, bed sheets, coffee makers. Not because he used them, but because at some point he had convinced himself that preparedness meant having more than he needed at all times. His home was clean, but his mind was tired. He had stopped inviting people over. Stopped reading at night. Stopped sleeping well. Not because of stress. Because of stuff. We cleared one room. Then another. Within a week, he told me, my house feels like it can breathe again. And so can I. This is not about becoming a minimalist. This is about becoming mentally available to your own life again. Because excess is not just visual, it is emotional bandwidth being drained in the background. And that bandwidth? It is needed for something better. For dreaming. For building. For resting. For returning to your real self. So go room by room. Not looking for mess, but looking for more than you need. and ask, is this item active in my life, or is it just sitting here waiting for someday? Do I have multiples of this out of true need or out of unexamined habit? If I removed this, would my life feel lighter? Would I miss it, or would I finally miss the space it has been taking from me? Your answers will not lie. Your body will know. And as you begin releasing slowly, calmly, without panic, you will start to notice something strange and beautiful. Silence. Not emptiness, but peace. Not blankness, but clarity. The clarity that comes when your eyes can rest, when your breath can deepen, when your mind is no longer sifting through decisions just to walk from one room to the next. You do not need to live in a showroom. You need to live in a space that is intentionally quiet enough for your soul to speak again. This is your permission to lower the volume, to reduce the noise, to remember that you are not defined by what you own, but by how lightly you walk through the world. And now, you walk lighter, because you are no longer carrying things that never ask to stay. You are curating a life that reflects peace, not pressure, purpose, not panic, depth, not decoration. And in that space, you do not just survive. You finally feel at home. Chapter 10. Letting the light in. How space creates spirit. There is a certain kind of light that can only enter a home once you remove what has been blocking it. It is not just sunlight, it is clarity, space, air, presence. It is the energy that moves through a room when every item in that room has been chosen on purpose. It is the invisible grace that flows through clean counters, open shelves, and empty corners where stillness can finally sit down and stay a while. You do not have to fill every wall. You do not have to cover every surface. You do not have to decorate every room with proof of your productivity. You are allowed to have empty spaces in your home. You are allowed to have silence. You are allowed to let your life breathe. And yet, so many people fear the emptiness. They fear that if there is space, something is missing. But what if the opposite is true? What if emptiness is not absence, it is invitation? What if it is not a lack, but a clearing? A clearing for new thought. A clearing for better energy. A clearing for your nervous system to unclench and exhale. Most people live cluttered because they are afraid to meet themselves in stillness. Because when the noise is gone, you begin to hear everything you have been avoiding. The truth about what matters. The whispers of what you long for. The gentle ache for a slower rhythm, a truer life, a home that wraps around you like a breath, not a checklist. And so they keep filling. Filling walls with quotes they do not read. Filling shelves with books they do not love. Filling drawers with tools they do not use. Filling rooms with furniture they do not rest in. All to avoid the brave simplicity of space. But space is not empty, it is alive. It is full of potential. It is a portal to something softer, deeper, more rooted. You do not need more stuff. You need more stillness. You need to walk into a room and feel like your soul can land there. Not because it is styled, but because it is settled. Let me tell you, this space heals. It heals faster than productivity, faster than aesthetics, faster than optimization. Because space reminds your body that you are safe to slow down, safe to stop striving, safe to just exist. That is what your home can be, not a gallery of effort, but a greenhouse for becoming. And the more space you make, the more spirit will rise to meet it. You will see it in the way the light changes, in the way your breath deepens, in the way your eyes soften when you walk into a room and there is nothing asking to be managed, adjusted, cleaned, or apologized for. Just a place. Just peace. Just enough. This is not laziness. This is wisdom. The wisdom to know that less is not failure. Less is not emptiness. Less is invitation. Invitation for rest. For beauty. For clarity. For truth. So take one more look at your space today and ask, where can I let the light in? What is blocking clarity? What can I remove not to replace it, but to reveal what has been waiting underneath? Because beneath the clutter, beneath the performance, beneath the pressure to keep filling is something sacred. You. The truest version. The one who does not need to prove anything. The one who simply needs room. Room to feel. Room to live. Room to become. And that room? It starts now with one shelf, one surface, one honest choice to clear, release, and receive. Because sometimes the best thing you can add to your home is nothing at all. Chapter 11. Sacred Rhythms Creating Habits That Keep Your Space Aligned. Clearing your home once is powerful, but keeping it clear is sacred. Because real transformation is not found in the dramatic weekend clean minus up. It is found in the daily rhythm of respect. Respect for your space. Respect for your peace. Respect for the future you are building every time you choose to maintain alignment. It is not about rules. It is about rituals. And rituals are not acts of control, they are acts of care. Wiping the counter becomes an invitation to clarity. Putting the shoes away becomes a declaration of calm. Folding the blanket becomes a way of saying, peace lives here. When you do these things not out of obligation but out of identity, your home becomes more than clean, it becomes conscious. And a conscious home does not need constant effort. It simply requires devotion. Not perfection. Presence. Because every home tries to drift toward chaos. That is the nature of life. But when you honor your space with small, repeated acts of alignment, it begins to hold you the way you hold it. It becomes a container for clarity. A mirror of your integrity. A place where your nervous system remembers who you are when the world forgets. But the rhythm is what sustains it. And rhythm begins with the smallest choices. Like choosing to return things to where they belong not because you have to, but because your home deserves wholeness. Like choosing not to bring more into your space unless you know where it will live and why it belongs. Like setting one intentional moment each day, 5 minutes to ask, what needs to return to center today? And then do it. No shame. No spiral. No drama. Just return. This is what most people miss. They declutter their space but not their mindset. So the items creep back in. Not because they are weak, but because they never created a new standard. And standard is everything. Your home will always rise or fall to the standard you silently set. Not what you say, but what you accept. So, set it high. Set it loving. Set it honest. Let your new standard be this: everything in this home has purpose, place, or peace. If it does not serve, it does not stay. If it does not belong, it does not linger. If it adds stress, it does not earn the right to take up room. That is the kind of clarity your space deserves. And it will reward you for it. You will feel it in the way you move from room to room. You will feel it in the way your mornings become easier, your evenings become softer, your days become simpler. Because you are no longer carrying the weight of unmade decisions. You are no longer chasing peace, you are living inside it. And when life gets loud, you will not panic. You will return to your rituals, to your rhythms, to your quiet act of cleaning the mug, folding the towel, lighting the candle, not because you are trying to look productive, but because this is what it looks like to love where you live. This is how you stay aligned. Not by force, by flow. By trusting that small acts of care will always outrun the most intense bursts of effort. Because consistency is how your space becomes sacred. And sacred space does not need to be expensive or aesthetic. It needs to be true. True to your peace. True to your standards. True to the life you say you are building. And that truth? It begins again today. Chapter 12. The emotional blueprint. Why your home is a mirror of your mind. Every space you inhabit reflects you, your choices, your patterns, your beliefs, your fears. You do not just live in your home. You become it. Because what surrounds you every day is not passive. It is shaping your mood, your pace, your thoughts, and your capacity to dream clearly. And when you understand that, you stop organizing for convenience and start aligning your environment with who you are becoming. Your home is not separate from you. It is your emotional blueprint, made visible. Walk into your bedroom. Look around. What does it say about how you rest? What does it say about how much you think you deserve to rest? Look at your kitchen. Is it a place that nourishes, or a place of shame? Does your living room invite conversation, or has it become a shrine to distraction? Your space is not neutral. It is active architecture. If you constantly feel heavy, overwhelmed, rushed, reactive, it is time to ask whether the environment you return to every day is supporting your transformation or reinforcing your limitations. Because most people try to change their lives while living inside the architecture of their old stories. They go to therapy but come home to rooms that trigger old wounds. They set goals but live in a layout that reinforces clutter, confusion, and exhaustion. They try to dream big in spaces that were built to keep them small. And this is the moment you begin to challenge that. Not by hiring a designer. Not by shopping for new furniture, but by honestly asking what every room has been silently telling you and whether you are willing to change the story. This is how you reclaim power. You do not wait for motivation. You shift your surroundings. Because when your environment changes, your identity has to respond. This is why when people move homes, travel abroad, or even rearrange a room, they often feel an internal shift. Because movement in the outer world sends a signal to the brain something new is happening. And that signal matters. So, why wait? Why not send that signal today? Rearrange a space. Not for style. For identity. Move the chair that always faces the television. Turn it toward the window. Create a reading corner not because you need one, but because it reflects a value you want to practice. Clear the table and light a candle not for romance, but because sacredness does not need an occasion. That is how you begin to script the emotional blueprint. Every object becomes a message. Every corner becomes an echo of who you believe you are and what you believe you deserve. So walk your home again. Not with critical eyes, but with curious ones. And ask, does this space support who I say I am? Or does it keep me rooted in an old version of me I no longer respect? Is this arrangement built for ease or built for avoidance? Is this space calling me forward or keeping me comfortably numb? These are not decorating questions. They are becoming questions. And the answers will shape the next season of your life more than any vision board ever could. Because nothing will slow your healing more than living every day inside a space designed by a version of you that no longer exists. And nothing will accelerate your transformation more than aligning your environment with the rhythm of your rising self. This is the work most people avoid, because it is easier to rearrange your calendar than to rearrange your kitchen. It is easier to read another book than to clear the shelf that no longer reflects your values. But if you are ready to live aligned, truly aligned, then this is where it begins. Not with a plan, with a room, with a drawer, with a single object you remove because it no longer belongs to the person you are becoming. Let your space speak your truth. Let your walls tell your story. Let your home become not just a place you sleep, but a daily reminder of how far you have come, and how deeply you are loved even by yourself. Your new standard for a space that reflects your becoming. There is a moment in every transformation when you must decide who you are really living for. Not just in your habits, your career, your relationships, but in the quiet architecture of your daily surroundings. Because your home is not just where you live. It is where you decide. It is where you decide how you see yourself. It is where you decide what you allow, what you honor, what you keep close. And if you do not consciously decide, your space will be designed by default by past expectations, old emotions, silent guilt, unconscious beliefs, and cluttered dreams that no longer belong to you. This is your reset. Not to get rid of everything, but to raise your standard. Because every object you allow to stay says something about what you believe you deserve to live around. And now is the time to declare that your environment will no longer reflect your fears, your past, or your performances, only your clarity, your care, and your current truth. So here is your new standard. Everything in your home must serve your peace or your purpose. If it does not give you energy, it takes it. If it does not support your vision, it distracts from it. If it does not feel like love, it is not neutral, it is noise. You are no longer allowed to decorate in self-minus doubt. You are no longer allowed to store things out of guilt. You are no longer allowed to apologize for choosing stillness over status, clarity over chaos, simplicity over accumulation. This is not about becoming perfect. This is about becoming honest. And honesty begins in the places you touch every day. Your morning countertop. Your bedroom floor. Your kitchen drawer. Your desk, your mirror, your entryway. You do not need to wait for a perfect life to create a peaceful one. You do not need more square footage to live in alignment. You just need a new lens. A new question. Does this item, this room, this rhythm honor who I am becoming? If the answer is no, release it. If the answer is maybe get still, then decide. Because the greatest clutter is not physical. It is indecision. And from this point on, you are no longer someone who leaves their life undecided. You are someone who sees clearly. You are someone who moves deliberately. You are someone who walks through their home and breathes better, not heavier. Because your home is no longer a warehouse of shoulds. It is a sanctuary of alignment. And sanctuaries do not beg for approval. They stand in truth. Let your truth stand. In every room. In every drawer. In every empty space that now says this room is mine, and so is this life. Build a space that sets you free. You have walked room by room. You have faced the ghosts in the drawer, the guilt on the shelf, the echoes in the closet, the silence behind the clutter. You have seen how your home has held your fear, your hopes, your delay, your decisions. And now you return to yourself. Not with shame. With sovereignty. Because this is what no one teaches us: when you clear what no longer serves you, you do not lose anything. You gain your life back. Every item you release becomes a signal to your nervous system that you are safe to breathe. Every decision you make becomes a declaration that your future matters more than your past. Every cleared shelf becomes space for a thought you have not had yet. Every empty surface becomes proof that you do not need more to feel whole. And that is the quiet miracle of elimination. It brings you home to a life that finally feels like yours. Not because of what you own, because of what you are no longer carrying. This is not just about decluttering. This is about dismantling the cages of old identities. You are not here to maintain a museum of who you used to be. You are here to build a space that reflects who you are now and who you are becoming next. That means you get to say goodbye to the version of you who needed to keep everything just in case. You get to say goodbye to the version of you who thought love had to be proven through objects. You get to say goodbye to the version of you who built around survival fear and apology. And you get to start fresh. Not because anything outside you changed, but because you finally did. You change. You remembered. You returned. So from this moment forward, let your home speak only truth. Let it be clean not for guests, but for your own clarity. Let it be simple not for aesthetics, but for peace. Let it be open not because you lack, but because you have nothing to prove. Let your space become your sanctuary. Let it breathe your name. Let it hold your rhythm. Let it remind you that you do not need more to be more. You simply need less of what is not real. And as you rise from these pages, let your hands become sacred. Let them touch what you are keeping. Let them release what has expired. Let them carry your standard into every corner. Because you are no longer decorating for performance. You are designing for liberation. And liberation is not found in stuff. It is found in stillness, in space, in shelves that hold only what belongs, in drawers that do not hide your truth, in rooms that let you rest, create, and return to joy without noise. That is your new normal. And if you ever forget, if you ever feel lost again in the piles, the pressure, the one day you'll deal with it. Just pause. Just breathe. Just remember, you are only ever one decision away from clarity. One object away from breathing better. One drawer away from feeling like yourself again. And that decision? It begins now. This is your home. Let it be free. Because you finally are.